Okay.
Okay, so my name's Jacob Larson, and this is a quick video. I have never met Pamela before. Pamela before.
Definitely Pamela. Thank
She
you.
was referred to me by someone else as someone that would be interested in having a chat. So here we are. So how are you?
I'm good. Actually, today's a good day.
Today's a good day.
Today's a good day. I'm at home. I just came home from work. I've been teleworking. I work for the state of California, and I've been teleworking probably the last 7 months, and it's just been hard. So I finally started going to the office to try to get a different feel, because I'm at the office and then I close my laptop and then I'm still at the office. So I wanted to have a distinction between the office and work, and I'm only 5 miles away. So yeah, I came home and it's been rough, man. This whole COVID thing it's been rough. So
It's been rough. What do you do for the state of California?
I work for the Department of Healthcare Services, and I do specifically like human resources type stuff. We have the human resources department, and we are offsite, and so I'm like the personnel liaison between my division and the human resources department. I do a lot of recruiting for state jobs, a lot of hiring, some disciplinary stuff, but usually just referring that to other people. A lot of consulting for managers and most human resources kind of stuff. And sometimes just talking to people. Sometimes people just come to my office to talk, and I like that too. So a little bit of a counselor at the same time.
So you're primarily working in the office, and I was going to ask you, does it involve any counseling duties, anything along those lines, or?
Not necessarily. So because I work for the state, everything is kind of compartmentalized. I can kind of counsel people off the books, kind of, or off the record, but people just come to me because I'm HR, and most of the time they're complaining about their manager and they're complaining about something they don't like. And you know, we have grievance processes. So sometimes they're coming to me to find out what the grievance process is, but most of the time they just want somebody to listen, because I started realizing, because I've been doing this for like 8 years, I started realizing when people would come to my office that when I would give them the paperwork, say, here's the grievance, they would say, oh, I'm not sure I really want to do this. I actually feel better after talking to you. So when people would come to my office now, I say, are you here to vent? You just want to listen, or do you want me to solve your problem? And most people will say, you know what, I think I just want to vent. But then I might want to help on maybe direction. But most of the time after people vent and understand, then they usually don't end up filing grievances.
So is it your dream job? It's something you've always wanted to do? I mean, how did you get started in it?
Not necessarily. I actually was a hairstylist for, right out of high school. I went to cosmetology school and did that for about 15 years. But I am a huge people person, but then working with people and the public, I started out in fast food restaurants. So I was always in customer service, and I'm a huge people person, but people ruined it for me.
People ruined it for you. How did they do that?
People are assholes.
In hair salons, I mean, how can they be assholes? I mean,
you would think, right? It's so funny because
cutting hair, right?
Right. I would get people that would just not listen. I would explain things to them about, you know, the appointment system or how it would work, and they wouldn't listen. And when they weren't paying attention, they'd yell at me. And you know, of course, years of customer service, I got really good at taking it. But after, you'd get people that would come in to sit in my chair, and I'd do a consultation, and they'd be nervous, and I'd understand that they were nervous, and they would threaten me. They would say, well, if you, yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's just really weird. People would be rude, and I just kind of got tired of it. Demanding. If people didn't get their way, you know, they'd complain, and I would always go above and beyond to help people. So it was the general public. I ended up leaving that job and going to Kaiser, and my family worked for the state. So they said, go work for the state. And I just kind of worked my way up. And there was a personnel position. I still want, I like to be in service of others. So I still wanted to be in customer service, but I wanted like a regular clientele so I could build relationships with them instead of just having the general public kind of coming in and out of the salon. Of course, I had regulars in the salon, but when you're open to the public like that, anybody can come in, and it could be any asshole, or it could be, you know, your best friend. So in the office environment, I they don't have to come to my office. I can use email if I don't like them, but I go above and beyond to do whatever I can for people and build relationships. And that's what makes me happy, is just customer service. So human resources is kind of in the customer service field.
Helping other people, yeah.
Yeah, but it's internal customer service. But I do eventually get external customer service too, because I go above and beyond. So because I do go above and beyond, then people at work end up referring like outside people. They're like, Pamela, you're so helpful. You know everything. Can you help this person? And then of course I take it on and help the public. But it's, I don't know.
So you get something out of it more than just a monetary thing. It's a personal accomplishment thing for you.
Absolutely. I love my job. And, I do get instant gratification from it. When I help people, people, they're thankful because I'm dealing with people's money. I'm dealing with hiring and checks and, all kinds of stuff, benefits. Sometimes benefits accidentally get turned off. And what I do is I'll run around and I think about it. And I think, well, if my benefits got turned off and I'm trying to go to the doctor, I'm panicking. I want my HR person to do it now. I don't want them to be like, well, I'm working on this project and I'll get to it later. So I treat everybody as if they're me. And that's what I think about. And so when I do it immediately, I'll get people crying saying, oh my God, thank you so much. And that's instant gratification for me, that I can just help people with something simple by just making a phone call or sending an email or, just taking care of that.
So career-wise, you're good where you're at. You like what you're doing. You're probably going to continue. That's where you're going to work for retirement.
Yeah, at the state has really good retirement. So I've got 11 years in and been considering leaving, but I don't want to leave my job. I do love my job. Funny thing is I actually have an interview tomorrow for a promotion, but it's in the same HR area. It would just be supervising analysts that do exactly what I do now, but at a different agency. So I'm a little bit nervous about that because I am loyal to the people that I work with, and I'm ready for a promotion now. So it's kind of hard. It's weird times right now. We did get a pay cut. The state of California got a 10% pay cut.
Oh, wow.
Gavin Newsom. And
You don't like him?
no, not at all. A lot of people think that what he's doing is to protect people, and it's not protecting. He's the dictator. Yes, there's a virus, but it's got a 98 something % rate. I don't even want to really even talk about that. But
you think it's a hoax?
I don't think, there's a virus, so that part's not a hoax. But I think the media and what the Democratic governors are doing is a hoax. I think it's bullshit. I think it's absolute bullshit. And I think they're trying to turn it's already a socialist state no matter what, even though it's not a socialist state, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to turn it into socialism and
you're against that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, already they're taking a huge % of my paycheck and giving it to people that have not contributed to working. And I mean, I work for a department that is a socialist department. I work for the department that does Medi-Cal for the state. And so it's kind of a conflict of interest. But I do want to be of service to others, and I want to help people that are less fortunate, but I don't like it when people are forced to participate into something and they're taxed at a higher rate. And so they've been letting people just come into this state and take and take and take. And so what's going to happen is if they turn it into socialist state, if they're going to tax me higher, they're going to take my money, they're going to put it into these programs, and all of these people are going to have programs that I don't have, but I'm working, but they're going to give it to people that aren't working. So why am I going to work a full-time job? If I can have that stuff for free too. So then it's just going to collapse the economy. It's the same thing that happened in Venezuela. Well, and you know what? I was having a very stressful day today. So I did smoke a bunch of pot before this. So I'm not as articulate as I usually am.
Articulate. I like it.
My thoughts.
You're not as articulate. I like it.
I'm not as articulate as I usually am. Yeah.
Well, okay. So you know that, social services are different and not the same as a social economic system. Correct?
I do absolutely understand that.
Right.
Yeah.
So you work in a department that provides social services, but those social services are funded by a capitalist system.
Mhm.
So the argument, tends to be, oh, they're trying to do socialism, but that's not really the argument. The argument is over the services that are being provided under a capitalist system, because obviously too many social services will weigh down and stifle even a capitalist system.
Right.
So under a socialist system, they would collapse, but under a capitalist system, they can be maintained, indefinitely if the balance is lasting there long. So just out of curiosity, you've got a picture behind you underneath the clock. Is that a picture of Buddha?
Yes, it is.
Are you a Buddhist?
I am not a Buddhist, but I'm very spiritual, and I am trying to find my spiritual path right now. And so I kind of entertain a little bit of everything. And I have a very, very difficult time meditating. And so I've kind of looked towards the Buddha, and just to kind of like, I have a lot of anxiety. So I put Buddha here to kind of inspire me, to remind me to meditate, and it's not working. But that's not.
What are you worried about? You said you have anxiety. What do you worry about?
I don't know, everything.
Everything.
I was born with an anxiety disorder. So it's kind of inherited. My sisters, my dad, everybody's just got it. We just have this general anxiety disorder. But I don't specifically worry about one thing. It's just a bunch of things all together. And typically my anxiety is over like traffic and running late and going to work and fighting traffic. But with the whole lockdown, and it's changed. So it's the mask mandates, and I have anxiety about places. I have a difficult time wearing a mask, so I don't wear one. And so I try to find places where I can go or change my lifestyle so that it's not interrupting everything. But it's frustrating. So I have a lot of anxiety about, when is this all going to be over? I also miss people, because I am a people person, and now I like the people that I work with. I don't get to see people on a regular basis. I used to have people sitting in my office asking questions, and I used to have human connections, and I would go to the gym after work, and that was my social hour. And now I don't see people, and it's really difficult. So
you live alone? You don't have somebody you're with, or kids, nothing like that?
I live with my boyfriend. We live here. He works too, and he's on his computer most of the time. Yeah, I lack like the human connection with like the social crowd, going to the gym, seeing the people at work. Those were my friends, maybe going to a happy hour after work, or having people over, and people are just afraid to go out, and I'm not afraid. So I'm now starting to find people that aren't afraid, and putting feelers out there. I put a message out on Facebook the other day saying I wanted to hang out with friends, and I'm not afraid of COVID. So who's down? I actually got a lot of friends. So I went from having zero anything on my calendar to almost being booked, just hanging out with friends. So I'm looking forward to seeing some people and hanging out. And you know what? If I get sick, I get sick. I just have to wash my hands. If I cough, I cover my mouth. And, I just have to, anything that I would do during the normal flu season, and just be careful what I'm doing. And I have a healthy immune system. I exercise, right? So, I think that's my responsibility. And I don't think it's anybody else's responsibility to have to protect me.
Well, the argument against that, obviously, is it's not about you. It's about other people. And if you care about other people, then you'll wear a mask, and you'll social distance, and you'll self-isolate, and all those things.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I don't wear a mask, and I stay in my home, and it's difficult for me. And if I do have to go out, then I will call a place and say, hey, I can't wear a mask. And so I want to know how we can work this out. And a lot of times they will be very helpful and say, okay, well, we'll meet you outside and handle it this way. So, I had to take my dog to the vet, and they came outside and helped me. And so, as long as people are willing to work with me, then I navigate around it. That's my choice. I'm not out there trying to get anybody sick, but I have my own medical reasons and personal reasons at the same time for why I won't and can't wear a mask. So it's difficult. There's a lot of people like me, a lot. And there's a lot of people that in the beginning were saying, well, if you cared about people, you'd wear a mask, and we're shaming people who didn't wear masks. And now I'm seeing those people actually paying attention and saying, they're going, well, Newsom's not wearing a mask and now he's going out to dinner when he's telling us to stay home. And then they're seeing that they can't be inside, but if you create a building outside of the inside, then that's okay. But it's the same exact thing. So they're seeing the hypocrisy in it and they're taking their masks off and they're saying, fuck you. And these are people that completely turned around. And now they're saying, I see what Newsom's doing. This is all, it's not a hoax, but this is all out of control. And the people that were shaming people for not wearing masks are now turning around and saying, I'm not wearing a mask until somebody absolutely insists and that I, enter a place. And I'll push the boundaries sometimes. If somebody asks me to leave their establishment, I'll leave. That's their, I'm not like one of those ladies that will stand at like Whole Foods and be like, I insist. No, that's not me. If they don't want me there, I'll leave. But I find that a lot of places I can just walk in and most places don't tell me to wear a mask because they have these big plexiglass things and they're wearing masks and there's usually nobody inside. So they most of the time don't say anything to me. If I go in and they say you have to wear a mask, then I'll say, okay, and then I'll leave.
So are you a Trumper?
Not necessarily. I think Trump he's an idiot. And you know what? I was his least fan. Like I hated him. But when I started listening to some of the stuff that he said, I heard what the news was saying. I stopped watching the news and I started listening to what he was saying. And I would go to the videos and I would watch the entirety. Well, here's the thing I should say is that I woke up myself in like 2012. I started doing my own research.
Drink bleach.
What's that?
You told people to drink bleach.
Yeah. I knew exactly what he was talking about when he said that, but we can get to that later. But in 2008, I voted for Obama and I thought he was great. But in 2012, something happened and I started just investigating and I started seeing what the news was putting out and making Obama seem like he was this great guy when he was like bombing other countries and he was taking away our rights, signing bills to say that they could spy on us. And there was just all kinds of stuff that I was researching. My memory's not for bombing people. Okay. That's of course, but that's what the media puts out there. They made him look like he was a prince. It would look like Prince Charming, but I started seeing what he was really doing. I started investigating the Clintons and I started finding out about the Clinton and the Uranium One deal with Russia and that they got caught assisting kids being taken from Haiti. They set up the Clinton Foundation. And I was just finding all this stuff. And a lot of of course, the news is going to say this is all conspiracy theory. And I want to know if it's conspiracy theory. But I woke up and I started seeing things differently when I turned off the news and I started digging into my own. And then, just everything. I could go years and years and so much stuff that I dug into. People do call me a conspiracy theorist, but I'm a truther. And I realized that I don't know the truth, but I put stuff out there and say, I think this is possible. And going back to Trump, I was digging through everything for years. And they said Trump's running for president. And I was like, oh no, not that guy. I can't stand that guy. And then somebody sent me a video that said, this is the video that's going to get Trump elected. And I listened to it and I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. Everything that the news is saying, I was like, this guy knows everything that I've been digging into for the past 8 years. And I was like, it shocked me and my gut turned and I was like, are you serious? Are you really even considering that? And so, I started digging. I started digging into Q and I started digging into conspiracy theories and
Q?
Who knows?
Did you say
QAnon?
QAnon. Okay.
Mm-hmm. The big conspiracy theory, QAnon.
Mm-hmm.
I started going into those to see if there was any validity to it. And it surprised me. I actually found connections that I was shocked to find. I was like, are you kidding me? And I could say that that's a complete hoax, but then again, it couldn't be. And so I just question everything. I literally question everything. Even where I stand from minute to minute. Like I call myself like Twix. When people say, where do you stand on issues? I am a Twix. I have a left Twix and a right Twix. And I lean left so hard on some issues. And then the same issue, I will lean so hard right. And it's weird. I think that's critical thinking.
For example, what would you say would be an issue that you lean far left and far right on?
Abortion.
abortion. So are you pro or choice?
I'm a Twix. I am both. I lean so far left to be like, this is my body and I should be able to make the medical decisions for my body. And nobody should be able to make a law to say what I can do. And I think that no matter what, women are going to have abortions. And if they don't get them safely, they're going to get them unsafe and they're going to have problems. They're going to go to doctors that are, not doing them right. They're going to have problems.
Because people aren't going to stop having sex.
Right. Absolutely. And then I lean so far right on it because I respect human life. And I also think that you shouldn't be so careless to just, I don't know. I think I feel like when at conception, there's something happens there. And I'm not like Christian. I'm just very spiritual. I just feel like something happens and it's meant to be. And I feel like if you don't want to get pregnant, have sex, but if you don't want to get pregnant, then take the precautions. And that's what society's not doing right now. The news and society is really pushing my body, my choice, and saying you should be able to get pregnant and have an abortion, and you should be able to kill your baby all the way up to the end in some states. And I just think that that's careless. And I think that they should be pushing abstinence for kids, obviously, children. But right now they're pushing children and teaching them how to have anal sex instead of getting pregnant. And I just think they're not ready for that. I think they should be providing condoms and birth control, which condoms are almost free anywhere. If you go to the store, you're not going to get them free. But if you go to college, the nurses in almost every school will have condoms. They'll have some sort of birth control, spermicide jellies. They have sponges. They have everything. They've always had it. They don't tell the students this. They did that in the 70s and 80s when I was in school, but they don't tell them that now, and it's still there. You go to your doctor. Birth control is free right now. There's no copay for it. And people say, I can't afford it. But if you have any kind of medical insurance, it's free. If you don't have medical insurance and you're on for, assistance, it's still free. So it's.
So you advocate more for prevention?
Absolutely. Absolutely more for prevention and just education on it. And they just don't do that anymore. They're pushing for birth control or for birth control to be abortions. And I think that there's also a sinister side to that. And I think that they actually are pushing it because abortions, there's billions of dollars in abortions. It's a business and they don't want to let go of that. They also trade the body parts on the black market. And there's videos of that on, who is that?
People claim that's a conspiracy.
Oh, but they have videos of those people. What is it called?
Planned Parenthood?
Project Veritas. Project Veritas. They've got video recordings. They go undercover and they've got those officials that are working for Planned Parenthood saying, this is what we do. We are selling babies on the black market. They're not saying those exact words, but they're saying, well, you can get $10,000 for this part, or you can get $10,000 for that part. And they're baiting them, but they're in the conversation with them. And they put them, what happens is they put that up on YouTube and they put that up on Facebook, and then Facebook bans it because they say it's against their community standards.
Right.
Well, yeah, but it's the truth. Or is it the truth? I don't know if it's the truth. Maybe it's set up. I don't know. But they put fake stuff on Facebook all the time and they allow that. Sometimes you put a joke and the community standards are kind of vague, but it seems like when there's something that's going to expose somebody that one of the elite or one of the corporations or whatever is going to lose money, that gets banned. There's censorship.
But there's a segment of the population out there that in spite of all of that, in spite of seeing all that, they would say that's just conspiracy theory and you're promoting conspiracy.
I don't know that I'm promoting conspiracy as much as I'm promoting people to use their critical thinking skills and use their own discernment and actually do research. People don't do research. What they do is they see that the news or a video that's been allowed on Facebook debunks it by just this, maybe something with some bullet points and says, oh, well, this isn't real because this, and that. And they go, oh, well, it's been debunked. And they just accept that. They don't actually go into another, and the thing is that Google censors too. So, I go into DuckDuckGo to do my research because it's not as as censored because I'm starting to see some things in there that I don't particularly like. Man, the sun's hitting me funny. Let's see if I can move that. There we go.
Yeah, I'm not.
I do research on DuckDuckGo, and then I will find something and I will look at both sides. I'll see where they're debunking it, and then I will go and dig into the things that support it. And I don't think that people are willing to do that. I think they don't want their lives and their thoughts and their reality disrupted. And
so would you say, I mean, you seem, just based on, you know, some of your views and stuff, you seem to be somewhat conservative in your thought process and worldview and stuff like that. Would you say that's accurate?
I don't know maybe, I don't know what you mean by conservative, because I don't necessarily consider myself conservative. I have a lot of very liberal views as well. That's why I call myself a Twix.
Well, I'm struggling. I got to be honest. I'm kind of struggling to find the liberal view there. I mean, you know, when it comes to abortion, on one hand, you say, you know, that you're pro-choice, but yet you strongly believe in prevention, which to me is more of a conservative approach to it. What else would you? I mean, when you say that you would be more liberal, such as what?
Well, with abortions? I'm not sure I'm understanding.
I mean, you said even with abortions, you seem to ride the fence a little bit, and you said that you do advocate for, you know, prevention and things along those lines, and things that you can do up and to the point where you don't need to have an abortion because you've done steps prior to that. So, why would you think you're a liberal?
I didn't say I'm liberal.
Okay, so I think that you sound very conservative.
Well, I'm saying that I still believe that we shouldn't have laws that prevent women from getting a safe abortion.
Okay, so that would be a liberal position.
Yeah, that's my liberal position. Because I believe that there are some cases where women may need to have abortions. And I've never been pregnant. I've never had kids. I don't know. I feel like if I got pregnant, I mean, I'm a little too old, but I feel like if I got pregnant, I would think that there was a reason for it and I'm going to go ahead and have a baby and take responsibility. But at the same time, I'm 48 years old. And I think if I got pregnant right now, I would sit and think, oh my gosh, how old is my body going to survive? Is it, you know, and I would sit there and I may feel differently. And I would want to have that option to be able to terminate the pregnancy. And I know that to me, it feels like a terrible thing to say, to even want to kill a baby. But to me,
but you have taken, you are responsible and you've taken steps to prevent that, you know, so.
And that's maybe where I lean a little bit towards that, because I think that I have been successful in preventing pregnancy for 48. Well, obviously I haven't had sex for 48 years, but you know, since I was active, I have prevented it. And 48, I've never even thought I might be pregnant because I have taken the steps to do it. And to me, it was easy. Right. And I don't understand why it's not easy for other people to, you know, I don't necessarily like hormones, because the hormones actually made my body act kind of funny, but there are other things that you can do. If you're sexually active, there's all kinds of things that you can do to prevent it. And there's always,
but don't you think
Plan B.
You're speaking from a position of white privilege there?
I don't know how my skin color has anything to do with preventing
your ability to prevent an abortion.
Not at all.
Not at all. So your race doesn't play any part of that at all.
I'm sorry?
So your race doesn't play into any part of that at all. And there's absolutely no excuse for somebody, regardless of their race, whether or not they can take birth control and prevent needing an abortion.
Skin color does not determine your ability to obtain birth control. There are people that are poor, that are white, that can't get birth control in some cases. I mean, you can, but there are ways to get it. And I'm not saying that they can't get it. I'm saying that they're poor and they maybe can't go to the store and buy a big 32-ounce box or whatever they are called. I don't know. But there are ways to go about it. And if you're on
Economics
any kind
come-
of assistance.
Economics of a person is a little bit more of a concern rather than their race or gender.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, see, I'm a little bit stoned, so I'm not.
No, you're all right.
Economics plays much bigger role in people's ability to get things than skin color.
Okay.
A lot of people say, well, there's a majority of Black people that are poor. Oh, well, there's a lot of white people that are poor. There's a lot of brown people that are poor. There's yellow, Black, what doesn't matter. It's your skin color. It has nothing to do with it. It's your socioeconomic status. That's, areas.
So what about people that would say, okay, you can say that, but there are certain systems, government systems, private corporations that discriminate based on race and skin color.
In what way?
Well, I mean, maybe some of these systems are set up and designed to, they're not as helpful for people of certain races, or regardless of their economic situation, their race or skin color does have an impact on their ability to take precautions and prepare and, stuff for, do stuff in advance to prevent an abortion.
I don't know that I've seen any evidence of that. I think that would be on a one-on-one. I don't think systematically it's set up that way, but I think that there are individual cases of racism where like somebody tries to, and, but I don't think that somebody is just going through and saying, you know what, I'm going to stamp all these Blacks and they're just not going to get it through the system. And maybe that's a simple way of looking at it. And I'm not saying that there's not systemic racism, but I'm saying that the system that's complaining about it is the system that's doing it. So, I mean,
So you're saying you're saying that there is systemic racism, you just haven't seen it.
I don't know. That's hard to say. I think there is, but I think that I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that, actually.
So is that why you believe in a spirit or God that you've never seen? You have faith?
I don't necessarily believe in God. I believe in energy and the universe and the law of attraction and what you put out. And I believe that energy does not die. And I believe in consciousness.
Okay.
But I don't believe in a God that rules and casts judgment on you. And that doesn't make logic sense to me. So
what is consciousness?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. That's interesting. I don't know. That's literally the question I'm trying to figure out.
Okay.
That's what I do every day, is try to figure out where's my, I don't know. It's where you're focused, what you're aware of.
Biological synapses in the brain, does that qualify as consciousness?
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think biological synapses in the brain is just your body working. I think the consciousness goes deeper, and I think it's
So you believe we have a spirit?
I don't know. I believe that there's an energy that exists, and when people die, is it a spirit? I mean, that's what people generally call it. But I think of it as energy, almost like a memory of that person. You can still tap into it. It exists energetically on a different plane, but at the same time, it's all one energy.
So how did your parents believe? How were you raised in regards to?
I was raised a Southern Baptist. We went to First Baptist Church wherever we were. And my grandparents were very much into God and talking about God and angels. And I questioned everything as a kid. They'd say whatever they'd say in church, and I'd say, why? And they'd say, well, because the Bible said so. And I'm like, yeah, well, who wrote the Bible? And they'd say, well, God and Jesus. And I'm like, yeah, but that don't make sense to me. As a little kid, I just questioned everything. And then they said, you just have to have faith. And I don't know, I just always searched for different answers. And I've always questioned things and never conformed. And I've been a rebel most of my life, but also kind of simple-minded at the same time. as a kid, I would kind of go along with things, but then I would stop and question it at the same time. So it confused teachers. They didn't like it when I would ask too many questions, and they wanted me to just go along. And now I understand, it's just, that's how we are. Everybody's just indoctrinated. You just, whatever the book says, you just go with that. And if you question it, they don't like it. People don't like to question their norms, and I do that.
So you didn't subscribe to how you were raised or how your mom and dad, their beliefs. Is that
No.
caused conflict?
No, not necessarily, because they didn't push me to go to church. We would go to church, and it just seemed like normal to me. And my parents divorced when I was young, and then my mom kind of had to work extra. She didn't continue going to church. I think she kind of let her faith go a little bit. And then she was going to college. She was trying to get towards her master's degree. So then she found out that she could put us on a bus and go to church. So then she would send us to church on our own. And I didn't like it. So I would get on the bus, go to church, and then I would kind of leave and go do other things. So my mom didn't really push the religion on us. I do remember at church one time, a funny story is that I did attend the church once, and they said we should do this prayer. And they were saying, open your heart to Jesus. And I was a little kid, and I was like, open my heart to Jesus. And they're like, welcome in. And I was like, come on, Jesus, come in. And I was just making fun of it. And I don't even know what I was praying. I was just going along with it. And at the end of the prayer, they said, raise your hand if you said the prayer. And I raised my hand. I was sitting in the front, so I didn't know. I figured everybody said the prayer. And so this deacon came over and sat with me, and he took my name and address, and he was like, do you want to commit yourself to Jesus? And do you want to get baptized? And I was just like stuck. I didn't know what to say. And I just said yes, because I just wanted him to go away. Well, this dude came knocking at my door. My mom answered the door, and she was like, and he says, well, your daughter wishes to be baptized. And I was sitting there, and I was like, no, I don't. And so my mom closed the door, and she was like, no, thank you. And so then from that day on, I didn't go to church, and she just kind of let it go. And at some point, somebody did show up at our house and told us that we need to throw our TV out because Satan lived in the TV. So it all kind of weird, bad taste in my mouth. So my mom never pushed, they would talk about prayer. My dad would go to church. I'd go to church with him just to sit in there, be with him, but I didn't subscribe to anything, and they never pushed. So it was kind of easy. And my mom's kind of spiritual too. And I think that she's kind of gone the way with me. So she believes a little bit more the way that I believe now in energy and spirits. And I also kind of try to tie it into science. So quantum theory, quantum physics, that kind of thing. I started looking into the double slit experiment. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
So I don't know if I will be able to describe it very well, but they were, there's a video, it's called Dr. Quantum, and it's actually a cartoon. And I saw it in the movie, it's a documentary called What the Bleep Do We Know? And in that documentary, they had this little cartoon where Dr. Quantum comes out and he explains quantum physics. And basically they were trying to, I don't think I'm going to be able to describe this very well, but they were trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do, but they were shooting particles through a slit onto a board. So little electrons or something. And they were recording it. And as they shot them through a slit, so there's a wall with two slits, and as the electrons went, it made the pattern of the slits on the wall, which makes sense, right?
Right.
But when they turned the camera off and shot the electrons through, the pattern that appeared on the wall was not the double slits. And so they were like kind of confused. And so what happened was it was a wave pattern. And so it ended up with tons of waves and all kinds of different things. And so they were doing experiments. So once they discovered that when something is being watched or monitored or recorded, it becomes matter. When it's not being watched or recorded, it's a wave of potential.
Okay.
And so what they're saying is, and then we take into it, that we know that our thoughts create our reality. We know that when we believe something, it can actually like the placebo effect is what they call it. It would become your reality. But quantum physics proved that that's the case. Where was I going with that? What was the question you would ask me? I can't remember. We were talking about spirituality and.
Well, I had said that you had not necessarily subscribed to how your parents believed or how you were raised. And you mentioned that you have faith and belief, but you also include science.
Right, the science. So yeah, there we go. The science, the quantum, it's been proven that everything is a wave of potential until it's observed. And then there's also, what is his name? Dr. Lipton? Dr. Bruce Lipton was a biologist that also studied, he's got a book out and I can't remember. All the details are kind of lost on me. My memory is a little off lately too on details. So the things that I should be, I'm surprised I even remembered his name, but he did a study where he split atoms to put them in different locations and he projected his thoughts towards them. And when he did, they responded identically. And so, and there's a book and it's the reality of our thoughts. And he proved biologically that our thoughts create our reality responds to our thoughts. And then with quantum theory saying that
our thoughts create our reality.
Our thoughts create our reality. And then you'll hear a lot of people saying that they think that we project everything. I don't know. I think everything is absolutely possible. So I just don't close my mind off to anything being real. I've also, probably different than most people and why I'm open to it, dabbled in psychedelics. So in the 80s, I did a lot of LSD and mushrooms. And when I did, open my mind to just the possibilities. I just saw the life and I saw the world differently. I saw that we were all connected. It just, something different happened in my brain and I could just see kind of the meaning of life. I know I've lost it back and forth, but really it's just, it's more of a feeling. I can't even put it into words, but when you do, especially mushrooms, you can see the energy of, and in life, in like trees, in the earth, and you can see that everything is connected. There's an aura to everything. You feel more connected to everything. And then you kind of get a sense of purpose. And then you also start to see the lies that you're telling yourself. Lies that.
How is that not just your body reacting to a drug?
Because when you're out of it, you're profoundly changed. It's not like you're just doing this drug and then you feel a little bit different afterwards. You're just different. You see the world differently. You see that everything is possible and that we are programmed and conditioned and
and that's not just something created in your mind from a response from a drug.
No, I don't believe so because of the change afterwards, the way that you see things. I don't look at the news and fall for what they say. I look at the news and I see the lies. And I look at people going, oh yeah, this is really what's happening in the world because look, the news, they're the ultimate authority. And I look at the news and I'm like, how do you not see how do you not see that it's such a manipulation? So it opened my brain to things and I just see more than other people. There's a movie that was from the 80s, Rowdy Roddy Piper, called They Live, where I don't even remember how he got these special glasses, but he would put the glasses on and he would see all of these billboards. And instead of seeing what the billboard was showing, it would say, obey, consume. And that's the best way I can describe what I see now. I don't see obey and consume the words like he does, but he would also see the elite as like, they were like robots and their faces would come with these robot faces. So he knew who the bad people were and the good people were. But literally that's almost like I have these glasses on and I can see the manipulation where other people can't. But there are a lot of people that see just like me, and it's not that.
Yeah, without drug use.
Right. It's without drug use.
Right.
Other people wake up in their own ways, but I started doing it at a younger age. And I think because I did a lot of psychedelics in a younger age, I tend to be a little bit more open to, not suggestions, but open to the possibility that there could be a different reality than what we're being told and what we're being fed. And that even the things that I think on a daily basis should be challenged.
So would you advocate for drug use?
Not necessarily. I would advocate for, I wouldn't even advocate for LSD because it's not natural, but I would advocate for natural drugs. Like the mushrooms, psilocybin comes from the earth. It comes naturally and there are no chemicals. You just pick it, dry it, and eat it. Marijuana, it comes from the earth. There are no chemicals unless you put, indoor growing and stuff, but you can literally grow it from the earth, water it, pick it, dry it, and smoke it, or eat it, or however you want to do it. Peyote, I think, but when you're putting chemicals into things, so when you're taking like the cocoa plant and then you're chemically doing something chemical and you're making it addictive, I'm not okay with that kind of thing. Not okay with like heroin. So I don't advocate that, but I also am for, however, I do support that people are sovereign beings and that they have a right to do what they want to their bodies without being persecuted for it.
Acid comes from the earth. It's natural.
It does, but it has to go through a chemical process to get and there's strychnine in it. And
well, there's natural acids. There's natural acids.
Like what?
Well, that are acidic, before anything's done to them.
Are you talking about drugs?
Citric acid's an acid. Well, you said that you would advocate for drugs that were more natural because they're natural. They don't have additives to them. And I'm simply saying,
that acids are natural.
There are other things in nature that are natural, considered natural, but have adverse effects and are harmful.
Yeah, but I wouldn't advocate for that. I mean, that's not, people don't go around taking an acid to open their mind or hallucinate or do whatever, they do. And I think that instantly, if you take an acid and eat it, you're going to be harmed.
Well, I'm talking more, more along the lines of like citric acid, that'll burn you. So
right. That's why people don't go.
I'm questioning the natural argument.
Oh, I see. Okay, so not everything. My argument isn't for everything natural.
Okay.
But when you're talking about what is typically considered drug use, I think when you're talking about natural, I don't consider marijuana to be a drug. I think it's a plant. I don't consider mushrooms to be a drug, but they have compounds in there that react with our bodies.
Right.
Sorry, I got things popping up on my calendar. Not everything natural is good, obviously. So my argument isn't for everything natural, but when we're talking about drugs, I just am for things that are given to us by the earth that have been proven to be beneficial. And there have been studies that say that psilocybin is beneficial for many reasons, including reducing anxiety and depression, because people do take psilocybin mushrooms and come out of it profoundly changed, and they will be very different. We also, for cannabis, we have an endocannabinoid system in our bodies. So if we didn't have an endocannabinoid system, we have it. Why wouldn't we use marijuana? It's set up that way. And the earth gives it to us and it's not for everybody. So I don't push it, but.
Well, I was going to say, in terms of, a liberal argument, I think that, this would be a pretty strong indicator. Yeah, on your side, if you're saying, well, what part would you subscribe in terms of liberalism? I would say, the drug use would fall more on that category. But even that being said, you've acknowledged and recognized that drug use can have negative effects, and some people, it's really bad for. So
Absolutely. I know some people that cannot take marijuana, they freak out. I know people that can't take mushrooms.
So you do understand the conservative argument of, hey, maybe we shouldn't be promoting drug use.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't see anybody promoting it.
Okay.
I see that we should just, if it's something that you want to investigate and you know that there's a community that has information, then you should be able to go to that community, find that information, share it, become educated, and then you make the choice if you want to participate or not without being subjected to criminal charges. I mean, that it's my body. I should be able to do that. I understand, but I don't think anybody is actually pushing drug use or advocating for it. I just think that we should, as sovereign beings, should be able to do whatever we want to our body as long as we educate. And nobody has the right to say what's right for me because it's right for you.
But if if you live in a community and you live in a society, obviously you live amongst a group of people that have the right to say, hey, what you're doing affects me, how you behave affects me, and
Right. So when it comes to like criminal activity, absolutely. But if I'm doing psilocybin mushrooms in my home, I don't think that affects anybody. How does that affect anybody? There's going to be the part where they say the criminal element is the person that's growing the mushrooms and then selling it on the street. Well, they're only a criminal because the law made it illegal. If they wanted to sell it, if there was no law and they grew the mushrooms and then sold it to me or bartered and I traded or gave them to me for free, that's my business. The only reason that there is a crime is because there is a law and they made that person a criminal and me a criminal.
But why are they making that a law?
Why
is a society saying, listen, this type of activity and behavior we want to not have happening in our community, so we're going to create this law because we don't want drugs sold on the street, we don't want this type of activity going on a routine basis? Why would they create the law?
Well, I think these laws were created a long time ago, and maybe you want to call this conspiracy theory, but I do believe that marijuana and psilocybin mushrooms are, I mean, and very different from heroin. And there's different reasons why I believe there are different reasons for certain laws. I believe there are laws for certain drugs, different reasons for laws for certain drugs. I don't know why I'm having a hard time articulating that.
You're all right.
But for psilocybin, for LSD, for mushrooms, for marijuana, I believe the elite do not want us to have access to the information, because when we do have access to the information, higher powers, we fully understand our powers as humans, and that we don't have to follow the government and follow their laws and rules, and they just want to keep us they're I don't know what I'm trying to say. They're trying to keep us from information. If we had the information, they would not be able to control us the way that they are. That's why. Now, when it comes to laws about heroin and crystal meth and the drugs on the street, I think that was created because of the cartels. I think they want that. I mean, that's all a business. The drug cartels want, that's their drugs. They're putting it through in some cases. And yeah, some, people dabble, but I think that there's totally different reasons for those laws. Because I think if they totally legalize the drugs everywhere, then the cartels would lose money. That's why they weren't happy with California legalizing marijuana, because marijuana is not coming in from other places. They're not getting their cut in it. And that's what I believe. The elite are running drugs. We know our government was running drugs. They've always been part of the drugs in our country.
So your position is the government has made drugs illegal in an effort to control people.
Absolutely. And to make money. And they're part of it.
So aren't people that are using drugs easier to control?
Not necessarily.
I mean,
I mean,
doesn't
that's complicated. I mean,
doesn't the story of the drug dealer go, I'll give you the first two for free, but then you'll be addicted and you'll have to come back and you'll buy more. So
yeah, that's their manipulation.
manipulative thing where they're controlling them based on a drug pattern of use that is a need. So, I mean, wouldn't the government be like, hey, absolutely use drugs, because then if you don't vote the way we want you to vote, we're not going to let you have drugs. And so people are just going to be easier to control.
Yeah, but I think the government plays both sides. I think they do, because I think they want drugs to be illegal because it increases the value. And then also there's the aspect of they're controlling the community and wow, sorry. Oh, 1 second, sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry about that.
All right.
There was a delivery and they never ring the doorbell, but this time they did. Man, I was in mid-sentence.
Yeah, you were talking about the government controlling people, or trying to control people by refusing them to have.
Right. There's also the business of incarcerating people. That's $1 billion business.
Big time bucks, yeah.
Huge. They've privatized prisons. California has over 35 prisons. I used to work for the Department of Corrections, and the overcrowding is incredible. It's incredible. I used to go, I worked in a prison and I would smell, and you can't get away with, it's awful. Excuse me.
But once again, I mean, don't you think that is a response? The laws and everything are set up, are a response from the government to a society that's basically saying, listen, we don't want to see drug deals being done on the street. We don't want to see people overdosing in our restaurant bathrooms. We don't want to have this group of society that is stoned off their ass, operating equipment, driving on our roads. And so the government has passed laws and said, hey, we're going to discourage this behavior. We're not going to have it allowed. I mean, there's a group of people like you that may be able to use and function and hold a job and all that other stuff. But there's a very large portion of that community that can't, doesn't. And frankly, people don't like it. They don't want it around.
Right. No, and I understand that too. I get that. I agreed to part of that as well. That's where I have, differing values. I question my own beliefs sometimes. I think that we should be able to do whatever we want to our bodies, but at the same time, within reason, I think that
you've got a responsibility to the people around you too.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that I think
why don't you wear a mask?
What's that?
So why don't you wear a mask?
Because I don't subscribe to that whole, oh man, we were going to go a different way. I'm going to talk about the mask again. Because I don't believe that this virus is as deadly as they say. I've dug and done a lot of research, and I don't know anybody that's sick. I live in Sacramento. There's 2 million people here. I don't know anybody that's sick. I know people that have tested positive with 0 symptoms. I see people, somebody tested positive, and I don't know anybody that's sick. I've gone to parties. I've hugged people. I've been there when somebody said they tested positive. I have to use my common sense. I go everywhere. I've been to 9 different counties. I go all the way, down California. I've been all the way to Bakersfield, all the way up north. I've been to parties where there have no people wearing masks. I went to a Trump rally because I wanted to see what that was about. And it was probably one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. I was shocked. And there was people wearing masks. The people that chose to wear masks did. They offered hand sanitizer, but they didn't force, and it was happy. And everybody was, it was the most beautiful experience I ever had. Every race, every sexual orientation, we were all there. There were blacks for Trump and gays for Trump and Latinos for Trump and women
Well,
for
he's a
Trump.
good con man, you know, he's conned a lot of people.
Yeah.
So.
But what, it doesn't matter. I know he's conned a lot of people, but I don't think that, and you know what, I'm not saying he's perfect. He's absolutely not perfect. I think that he's a businessman that has done some shady things. But I think when you look at where our country is headed or was headed until he stepped in, I think it was going to be a lot worse. And so I think that, yeah.
Just to kind of go back a little bit on the drug thing, because I still have a couple of things there. So, you know, when they, back in the early 50s, you know, when they advertised for cigarettes and stuff like that, do you remember some of the advertisements for cigarettes? We kind of laugh at them now. Mm-hmm. But, you know, they had doctors lighting up cigarettes.
Yeah, they would say 9 out of 10 doctors choose, you know, Winston or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that was the brand that they used to, or that's the way that they went about advertising, mm-hmm. you know, using tobacco. And so people took it because they thought it was safe, and they saw that there was no adverse effects. The doctors were approving it, that sort of thing. Why do you suppose they don't take the same approach with drugs? I mean, because the idea that pops into my mind when somebody says, you know, yeah, I smoke marijuana, I see Cheech and Chong. You know, I grew up in the 80s where I see Cheech and Chong, and I watched that show, and these were two of the dumbest people on the planet, you know, looking like total idiots, doing some of the dumbest stuff. And for me personally, that was a turnoff. I was like, I'm not interested in becoming a moron. So
you know what that was? It was indoctrination.
What?
It was indoctrination.
Okay, but Cheech and Chong are responsible for what they put out there. They put that out there. Nobody forced them to put that out there. They put that visual of marijuana use out there, and there are a ton of people that jumped on the bandwagon and thought that was just the greatest thing. I'm going to be a sloth, and I'm going to be stupid, and so I'm going to smoke pot. But there was another group of people like me that kind of saw that and went, yeah, no, I'm going to laugh at people like you.
Right. So, oh gosh, what was it? Reefer Madness. I mean, you've seen those, what do you call it? Advertisements where they would show like somebody with a tuba in their butt and somebody getting all crazy. And they tried to make people afraid of marijuana. And then, you know, in the 70s, they tried to bring it back. And then I think that,
yeah, you're
the powers that be,
marijuana and stuff like that.
Hold on. My battery's running low. Sorry.
All right.
Not all together here.
You're fine.
So I think that okay, my battery was about to go down. What do you call it? The powers that be.
Yeah, I'm just questioning, you know, why, if people that use, you know, think that it's not as harmful as being portrayed and stuff like that, why don't they have some sort of marketing or advertising or something out there that shows people using it and that it's safe and that the society's view is wrong? Because I think that if you had something like that, the laws would change. I think the powers that be would have to change the laws. I mean, if there was a way to go, no, we can sell LSD on the corner and it doesn't go to little kids, I think that would be accepted. Mm-hmm. The only reason why I say that is because I don't necessarily think that laws are a very good extension of morality. So I'm kind of separating the two, and I'm saying, you know, if your argument is the laws are being imposed to control people because the government's just evil and vindictive, I'm going to say, okay, well, the laws are there imposed by the government because the society in which we live in has demanded there to be laws of that, because there's activities and behaviors that they don't want to see happening.
Right. And I do agree with that for certain drugs, but specifically for marijuana. And I mean, I know you want to say this for all, but I believe this goes back hundreds of years that they've been trying to hide it. Like some people consider the holy grail to be the psilocybin mushroom. It's in, you know, some communities because it frees your mind so much, and the powers that be want to control our thoughts. And so I think that what they have done for so many decades, I don't know how many centuries, whatever you want to call it, but however long they've done it, they've wanted to outlaw those drugs because of that reason. So they've indoctrinated people. They've put out advertisements saying it's bad. And so that has indoctrinated the society for so many years. And now look, I mean, California is, we're free to use marijuana anytime we want. And there are still people that will openly use it. When they'll see people, they'll hide. And I'm like, why are you hiding? It's free. Because people aren't okay with it. And it's because people have been indoctrinated to believe that that's bad. Now, you can openly smoke cigarettes and people don't judge you, because our society slowly came to allow it. And I think that we are turning that way, but it's not something that can just happen like one day, all of a sudden, boom, everybody accepts it. It's a slow process. You have to slowly change people's mind, and you're never going to change everybody's mind, because some people are just always going to believe what they saw in that movie, what they saw in that advertisement, and what they saw on news, and what they saw in that study, whether it was the reality or not. That's their reality. They're going to hold on to it.
Well, I'm vaping.
Mhm.
I'm vaping right now because society has accepted vaping.
Mhm. Are you vaping tobacco or?
Yeah, tobacco.
Or?
I used to smoke cigarettes. I was a 2.5 pack a day smoker, and I switched to vaping about, I guess it's been about 4 years ago. And frankly, for me personally, it's been like the best thing ever. You know, I honestly think vaping saved my life, you know.
I feel like marijuana saved my life.
But I'm going from somebody who was a 2.5 pack a day smoker to this, which, like I said, the comparison's not even, I mean, it's the difference between night and day.
Right.
So, you know, me saying that to somebody who doesn't smoke at all, it doesn't register in their brain. They're like, what you're doing is still bad. But
no, I get it. I smoked for many years. I smoked cigarettes. Man, I think I started when I was 13, and then I quit when I was like 30. And then I kind of went back into it a little bit, and then I haven't smoked for maybe 10 years, but I smoked at least a pack, sometimes 2 packs a day. So I get it. You're addicted to the nicotine, and you're also addicted to the habit of what you're doing, putting something in your mouth and the feeling of something going into your lungs.
Right. But I wouldn't advocate for non-smokers or people that have never, I wouldn't advocate for them to take up vaping.
No, I would never do that. I wouldn't advocate for anybody to do anything. I would say that if you hear about something and you're interested in it, then you should educate yourself on it and go to the community, whether it's a YouTube video or a book or whatever, and find information and find out if it's for you. But I don't think that that you should advocate for anybody to put anything in their bodies, regardless of how it works for somebody else. But I think that there are communities that have information and education that share with people, but I don't think that they push it. You know what I mean? So like, if somebody comes to me and says, why do you smoke marijuana? And I'm going to say, because it helps me with my anxiety. Yeah, sometimes right after I smoke it, I kind of get a little bit wonky and I can't think straight or articulate my thoughts or keep my thoughts straight. But I think that's a lot to do with my age too, and anxiety that's happening in society. Everything's a little bit wonky, but there can be some negative side effects from using marijuana, and especially when you're using it heavily. And I've been using it heavily because of everything that's been going on in society right now. So if somebody were to come to me and ask me, I would educate them, but I would say, hey, you know what? It's not for everybody. Try it. And if you don't like it, don't do it. But if it works for you, then you should have the right to do it. And for me, I was on Prozac. I was on so many other medications, and Prozac messed me up so bad. As soon as I got off Prozac, started taking marijuana, it was like night and day. I could function, and I couldn't function on other things. And it helps with pain. It helps with anxiety. It helps with depression. It helps with everything.
So what's the conflict that you come in contact with most in your life in regards to what you do and how you live? I mean, you think people have an issue with you smoking marijuana?
I don't think so. If they do, I don't care.
Right.
I mean, I don't hide it from anybody. I actually have a tattoo of a cannabis leaf on my back. And people will look at it and they'll go, oh, and then, they might say something, and I say, you know what, to each his own, and this is my medicine. And most people don't say anything. And if they judge, I don't care. I don't care.
So your Facebook status, see, we're not even friends on Facebook, but your Facebook statuses don't read, gee, I made a great, cannabis brownie and it's, so awesome and stuff like that.
No, but I will share things that say that I support. I will share some things. I'll share some funny memes, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it reflects me. I share a lot of things on Facebook that don't necessarily reflect me, but I think it's funny. And
yeah.
I like to shock people sometimes just to invoke, I don't know, kind of like how Jeff is. He just will make stuff up just because it's funny and not necessarily agree with it or would ever do anything like that. But I find humor in abstract things, and I find humor in dark things. And
Jeff pushes the limits a little bit. Jeff pushes the limits a little bit. You got to admit that.
But I get it. Like
I've hesitated reposting some of his stuff because it's like I can't afford to get banned again.
Yeah. Jeff does push the limit. I love it though. I like that. And it's, to me, I don't know if it is just like the dopamine hit from doing it. I don't know what it is, but I like pushing it. I think it's funny. I like seeing people shocked, and I don't know why. So that's what I do on Facebook. So if you're going to look at my Facebook status, I always tell people, don't judge me by the shit that you see on Facebook, because it's not reality. It's just shit. I shit post. It's just
so
fun.
there is a personality thing called the Enneagram. Have you ever heard of it?
I don't know. What is it called?
It's called the Enneagram.
I don't know.
You might actually. So I have a web blog that I post to pretty frequently, and I actually did a kind of a research study on the Enneagram, and I've posted web blogs about it. It's got an introduction, explains what it is. I've got different videos attached to it. After this video, I'm actually going to post a link to it. You might want to check it out. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
But I think that you might like it. Especially if you took the profile test to find out where you fall, and it kind of helps me when I'm talking to other people have a good idea of where I stand and how to communicate with other people, recognizing what numbers they are and stuff like that. But you might enjoy that. So
I actually like doing personality stuff. I like self-reflection. I like seeing what people say about me if I take a test. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty in depth. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I appreciate you being willing to do this. It's definitely cool on such short notice.
I know that was quick. I really like the challenging question. I like the way you challenged me too, because I think everybody should be challenged in that way, and people aren't. And so I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So if you're watching, thanks for watching. I'm going to post a link to the website below. Go ahead, like, subscribe, do everything you have to do. Web address is www.larsonsblog.com. And once again, thanks, Pam. I appreciate it. Maybe we can become friends on Facebook. That would be great.
Yeah.
And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That was fun.